What's going on, guys? Welcome to We Got a Problem. So the EU has taken a leaf out of the CNN and MSNBC playbook in regards to blaming Russia for elections that didn't go their way, since the Brexit Party and many other political parties on the right have gained massive ground in the latest EU elections. It would seem the trend of people complaining when they lose a democratic vote has gone worldwide. It's reached a point now where even Remainers here in England are getting sick and tired of people who constantly complain that they lost the democratic vote in 2016 when the UK voted to leave the communist EU state, and want the referendum to be held again because communists don't care about freedom and democracy. Let's watch this clip.
I think we live in a society now where everybody who has an opinion, someone will tell them to their face, "You're wrong." But it's like, who used to say, or who was anybody to say that your opinions on anything are wrong, you know what I mean? But we're living in strange times now, aren't we, where it's so, people's beliefs are so opposing, which is fine, which is good in a way, do you know what I mean? If people believe in so, but the fact that it's now become so, you know, people, you see, it used to be people who were right-wing that were violent, protesting violently. Now you see people who are left-wing violently protesting and lobbing milkshakes or whether the milkshake funny as throwing milkshakes at each other. It's like, I was talking about this the other night, I was going, what? I thought, what? So you're not seeing people from the left are no better than the people from the right in that respect. It's quite sad, really. And all over something that was frank, you know, a democratic vote took place, and it went one way, and the other people don't like it. And I said to most people, there's only one thing worse than a fool who voted for Brexit. That's the rise of trying to get the vote overturned. You know, it's like you take part in a democratic process. If you don't like the outcome, go to North Korea. If I sat the day of Brexit and thought, I was going to the voting station, who the would vote to leave Europe? It's just a bit of just nonsensical idea. And you wake up the next day and just think, you know. But the thing that's taken place after that is frankly a disgrace. It's a disgrace when you see people trying to get that vote overturned.
Now that complete prat admits he is a Remainer, but also agrees with the democratic vote, even if he is still a shitweasel for calling Brexiteers fools for wanting to leave the EU. But my point still remains. Even their own are getting sick of their constant attempts to ignore democracy and blame Russia when it doesn't go their way, which these radical commies seem to do more and more. It seems to me the EU, like the left-wing American media, would rather ignore democracy and blame losing on Russia. I think in this case, the EU watched too much Rachel Maddow and jumped straight to the conclusion that Russia is the reason we lost. I mean, CNN and MSNBC have been using the same old line for 3 years. Why can't the EU use that excuse, I suppose? Now, we have multiple news agencies reporting how the EU Commission has found that Russian bots and fake accounts have spread fake news in the lead up to the EU elections. Personally, I think they're looking in the wrong area for fake news. It's the BBC and mainstream media who spread fake news to influence elections and control political discourse, as we see here. Now let's take a quick look at this article by the snivelling fuck pigs across the pond that are the New York Times. Right, so the article titled, "Russia sought to use social media to influence EU vote, report finds." European authorities blamed Russian groups on Friday for disinformation campaigns designed to depress turnout and sway public opinion in last month's European elections. An official accounting that underscored how Russian interference has not abated and that Facebook and other tech platforms remain vulnerable to meddling. The preliminary review by the European Commission and the bloc's foreign policy and security arm found that Russian-linked groups and other non-state actors had worked to undermine credibility in the European Union through Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Officials said new regulations might be needed to force internet platforms to do more to stop the spread of deliberately false information. The evidence collected reveals a continued and sustained disinformation activity by Russian sources aiming to suppress turnout and influence voter preference, the report said. The report was the first official substantiation by the European Commission on the role that Russians and other groups have played in disinformation in the May elections, which many investigators, academics and advocacy groups have warned about. It was a reminder of how active Russia and other countries to be spreading divisive content online to inflame and stoke electorates all over the world, a strategy that the Kremlin had pioneered in the 2016 American presidential election. Since then, Facebook, Twitter and others have vowed to clamp down on foreign interference and have worked on new technology and other methods to stop outside meddling during elections. But the report on Friday highlighted how much work the platform still needed to do to stay a step ahead of the disinformation networks. The report also had implications for American officials ahead of the 2020 presidential elections, with an increasing number of smaller, harder to detect domestic groups adopting Russia-like strategies to influence. The genie's out of the bottle, said Ben Nimmo, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab, who has been tracking disinformation efforts in Europe. What we have seen over the past few years is an increasing number of actors, both state and non-state, using similar methods online to interfere in the democratic process. What's that, like telling the truth? European officials did not draw a direct link in the report between the disinformation campaigns and the Kremlin, or provide details about what groups in Russia or elsewhere were behind the efforts. The report also stopped short of assessing whether the tactics had an impact on how people voted, with turnout in the elections hitting high record levels. The report largely cited the findings of outside researchers who had been tracking the EU elections. Yet European officials said the report was significant because it highlighted the new normal of disinformation campaigns. There was no Big Bang moment, there was no new Facebook Cambridge Analytica case that we know of, said the European Commissioner during a news conference in Brussels. The European elections were not free of disinformation, she added. That continued online meddling was something we cannot accept. I was waiting for that. Right off the bat, the New York Times are blaming Russian groups, then Russia itself, before finishing off talking about the Kremlin and the 2016 US elections, like it's a proven fact that Russia did anything. Now, the New York Times cannot help itself when it comes to suffering from severe Trump derangement syndrome, though. In that short article, they named Russia 6 times, yet in the press release for the preliminary review, they link as the source for this story, it does not say Russia once that I could find. The report actually complains that the big tech companies need to make it easier for them to find out where these fake accounts are being created. So the New York Times are literally spreading more fake news than snivelling shitweasel. I doubt my American viewers will be the least bit surprised there is literally no evidence shown, for any of these claims of course, by either the EU or the media. We just have to take their word for it. I mean, they even admitted in the article that the report said nothing about the Kremlin or Russian groups. The media came to that conclusion alone. Now, I think the New York Times has earned consideration for Shitweasel of the Week nomination here. A press release about how to prevent fake news during elections is not evidence Russia swayed the EU elections. I'm going to end the video there, guys. Let me know what you think about the EU's Russia derangement syndrome. Could it be a side effect of Trump derangement syndrome? Now don't forget to like and share this video as it helps a lot, and I'll see you all in the next video.